You heard a great speaker already today. Kathy and I gave a great message, absolutely great message. And I don't have a whole lot to add to what she had to say, except for a couple of little things. And you know, I'm actually writing a book right now, and one of my chapters is about how little dots make big connections later. And the craziest thing that's going on in my life right now, and it has a lot to do with this company, with Kelly Williams, and with a few certain individuals who got involved with me and my story early on, is that somehow, everybody, listen, the worst thing that ever happened to me has become one of the best things that ever happened to me. Dystonia is not a country in Eastern Europe. You cannot buy a plane ticket and fly to Dystonia. I have it. It's, like I said, my symptoms are as bad as ever. But it's because of my dystonia that I got noticed, and that my comeback story got noticed by Gary Keller, that I was invited to be part of this family reunion, which is what I really thought it was. And then Gary asked me afterwards, he said, Billy, would you ever go out on the road and do some more of these types of events with me, you know, city by city, much smaller than family reunion, but still hundreds of people? And I said, duh, sure. And the first place he brought me was San Diego. It was here at the Shift Tour that I connected with one of the locals. You all know her, Nancy Dennison.
Woo!
Here's how crazy it is when you think all hope is lost, and all of a sudden little dots start making big connections. So I happened to chit-chat with Nancy in the back. We had said hello at family reunion, and I immediately remembered her, and I was looking for a familiar face, because here I am on my first book tour with Gary, and I'm kind of waiting my turn to get up and play, and here's a familiar face. And so Nancy and I get chatting a little, and we even chatted after the show. Things went very well at that presentation. And she said, you know, Billy, sometime I'd like to try to help you get a gig here in San Diego, because, you know, you're from Minnesota. You're stuck up there in the cold, and maybe it would make sense for you to try to come to San Diego sometime. So we embarked on a little partnership, and she booked me at this little, beautiful little theater up at the Neurosciences Institute, okay? Now, I haven't played San Diego in 15 or more years because of my dystonia. And I'm sure many of you heard about the event, and we were a little worried a couple of weeks before the event. We didn't have a lot of pre-sale on it, right? And I'm thinking, gosh, maybe I should just call Nancy and just tell her I'll come another time or something like that. Well, one of the things that I hadn't moved on yet was investing in my publicist to work the market. And I had a big decision. It was about 3 weeks ahead of the event. Do I pay my publicist $300 for a show I think I'm going to lose money on? And then I remembered, you know what, I told Nancy. I promised her my publicist will work this show. A week before the event, we still didn't have any confirmed media. And 2 days before the event, here it comes, a beautiful full-page article about me in the Union Tribune. Out of nowhere, when all hope was lost. Ticket sales immediately went up. And then a really amazing thing happened. The morning after that piece ran was the day of the show. The day of the show, I get a phone call from CBS National Morning News. And they said, we heard about your show tonight in San Diego. We'd like to dispatch a crew from Los Angeles to come down and cover your concert in San Diego. Now, remember this, 3 weeks prior to this whole thing, I thought the bottom had fallen out and it wasn't going to go anywhere and nothing really was going to come of this whole thing. Well, it was because of all that attention and because of Nancy's very delightful persistence. Her delightful
Never heard called that before.
That not only did the CBS National News coverage, they came down and shot that concert and then followed me to Minnesota and did a follow-up interview with one of their main anchor people, Jeff Floor, which was a beautiful spot that ran a few months later. But the next morning after my concert, I got a call from the local folks here at KPBS. And we just, one thing led to another, and we just filmed a few weeks ago a national television program with Orchestra Nova featuring me and my story and my music. And if you rewind the clock back to the 3 weeks before the event, and I'm thinking, boy, maybe I better bail out. Maybe I should cut my losses here and not follow through on what I said I was going to do. Aren't you? I'll tell you what, it's always the right decision to follow through on what you say you're going to do. I mean, I really learned that lesson in this moment. And so the connection, again, I'm in town actually not just for your award ceremony, but I was over at KPBS filming all kinds of national station IDs for all the different stations across the country that are hopefully going to be playing this program when it comes out in June. And I'll tell you what, back in my heyday when I was a healthy gunslinger guitar player and I had the album on the charts and everything, I couldn't get public television to spend 5 minutes looking at what was going on with me and my music. It is through this awful thing that happened, this dystonia that I've had to fight with, that they've not only taken an interest in me, but KPBS and San Diego, your community, has lifted me up and given me an opportunity that I've never even, I thought all my dreams were over when I had to put my guitar down. The tough part of my process in regaining my music was to stop thinking about what was broken all the time. This is my bad hand, this is my broken hand. I spent 3 years trying to fix it before I realized that the problem isn't even in my hand, it's between my ears, which is what my mom has been telling me for a while. Your biggest problems really are usually between your ears and how we think of things. So my biggest challenge was to stop thinking about what was broken and start thinking about what I had that still worked. And so I'm gonna finish up here with a little piece. It's a piece, and when you play instrumental music like me, there's no words for the audience to understand what I'm thinking as a composer and what I want to share. So the titles of my songs become really important for you to have some little window of an idea of what the heck I'm playing about. So the title of this next piece, this was the last piece I wrote as a healthy right-handed guitar player. And it happened when that whole list of things was happening. Losing my record deal, losing my publishing deal, losing my marriage, my home, the whole deal. And of course, I wanted to pour it all out into a piece of music, which I did, and I was very proud of this piece when I finished it. But then I realized, oh my gosh, I have to give it a title that can convey some of what's going on inside me. Or I just have to find a way to do that. So 2 weeks it took me to come up with this title. I call this piece Hold On to Forever. I was really trying to hold on to those things that meant the most to me. And don't we all want to do that? We want to hang on to those things that matter the most. The things we think we can count on. Then I realized, you know what, really only Celine Dion should ever have a I mean, it's just such a Titanic-sized title, right?